Hello, and welcome to tonight's live History Bites show. So, tonight we're carrying on our theme of mythology, and we will be looking at tricksters. So, those comic creatures who form the bridge between humans and gods in the mythology, the ones who are the light comic relief, as you were. Now, a lot of the trickster gods exist across all forms of cultures. A large number of them exist in Northern American mythology. These come about as the forms of coyote, raven, and hare. In the Northern American mythology, they function as cultural heroes or celebrated icons who get in and out of trouble and assist the people of the world along the way. For instance, Coyote disguises himself, gets into a lot of trouble, but ultimately frees up a dam, giving salmon to the people to eat. And Raven brings the light, but he does it in a way of being disguised and hiding from everyone. So they're tricky ones for the Northern American peoples. There's a great Polynesian trickster hero called Maui-of-a-Thousand-tricks, and he has a multitude of stories associated with him. So he's a Polynesian, which is the Oceania region, sort of Northern Australia, Indonesia type area. And he captures the sun because he likes the sun. He loves good, long, sunny days. So he makes a rope of hair, captures the sun, and holds it prisoner until the sun decides that it will agree to go slowly through the summer months, through the longer days, and move quickly through the winter for shorter days so that winter is over faster. So Maui essentially creates our seasons in this respect, with longer days in summer and shorter days in winter. His birth and his death are also occasions of great hilarity. For instance, his conception comes about because his mother wears a man's loincloth. So ladies, please do not wear your boyfriend's underwear. It's not going to have good consequences. Such is his conception. On to his death, he decides, comic hero that he is, that he's going to go down, take on death, and defeat death so that there will be no more death in the world. Unfortunately, he decides that he quite likes death when he gets down there and decides that he'd like a little bit more of a relationship with death because he thinks she's rather nice. Death thinks otherwise and strangles him to death with her thighs. Another lesson to be learned there, perhaps. We can't take on death. But his stories are comic and provide the comedy throughout the mythology of the Polynesian era. And the Mayan mythology doesn't really have comic gods as such, no real tricksters. However, the twins, Hunapa and Zablanque, Mayan names again, they deserve the title of tricksters because they are the only creatures in the world who have managed to trick the gods of death into killing themselves, which I'm sure you'll agree is quite a feat. If you can trick the god of death into doing himself in, that's got to be a trickster's victory. On to more familiar grounds now, we look at the most famous trickster of the ancient Greek world, which would be the hero Odysseus, last of the heroes. He is, of course, the man who comes up with the idea of the Trojan horse trick, which leads to the fall of Troy and the great Greek victory. Onwards from Troy, he travels the world. It takes him 10 years to get home. On his way, he comes across various places. One of the more famous ones and one of his greatest trickster triumphs is what he does on the island of the Cyclops. He arrives at the island of the Cyclops. They're taken prisoner, locked in a Cyclops cave, and essentially left to rot. Odysseus observes what the Cyclops does every day. He introduces himself, talks to him a bit, and Odysseus introduces himself to the Cyclops as no one. He gives no one as his name. And having watched the Cyclops for a bit, he watches him fall asleep one day, takes a great spear and stabs the Cyclops in the eye. Furious, the Cyclops staggers out of his cave, wailing, moaning to anyone who can hear him. But when his friends ask him, who did this? Who mutilated you? All the Cyclops can say is that no one did this to me. We must get no one. No one is guilty for doing this to me. So Odysseus and his men managed to escape because no one harmed the Cyclops. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, perhaps you could suggest that Odysseus is one of the first faceless men. It's a similar concept. We move on now to the final trickster in our story. You may see him creeping in for a bit of screen time here. This is Loki, arguably the most famous trickster of them all in mythology. Loki's not a god, he's technically a frost giant, but he manages to live among the gods of Asgard as Odin's brother, and is quite revered there in a way. He's a restless character, cunning and full of tricks, but he tends to act out of mischief rather than malice, although his tricks quite often go wrong. One of his greater tricks is that he cuts off all of the Lady Sif's hair. Now, Lady Sif was very proud of her hair, and Thor, her husband, rather liked it as well. So, between threatening to kill Loki, Thor manages to extract a promise out of him that he will get Lady Sif some new hair. Loki goes to the dwarves, who are known for their manipulation of metal, especially gold, to procure Lady Sif a long golden wig of hair. Now, Loki doesn't have any money to pay the dwarves with, so he offers them his head if Lady Sif likes her hair. It being lovely, golden, and long, Lady Sif does like her hair. and so the dwarves demand Loki's head as payment. Loki, however, has other plans. He's rather attached to his head. So he tells them they can take his head, but he made no deal about his neck. Angry, the dwarves take this to Odin, who has to judge on this matter. And he says that Loki is quite right. The dwarves can take his head, but his neck had nothing to do with the deal. The dwarves, unable to take Loki's head, angrily sew up his lips so he cannot trick anyone else again. However, Loki, being Loki, manages to get out of this in a couple of years' time. His later trick, his final and greatest trick, is that he brings about Ragnarok and the end of the gods. Not a particularly nice trick, but Loki manages to survive it anyway. He is the trickster. He will always win. That is everything we've got time for tonight with regards to tricksters. We'll be back again next week for a History Live session on the mythology of death. Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the videos, and enjoy the rest of your bank holiday weekend. Good night.